Alright, welcome to Old World Gaming. I just uploaded the video I just did on the Dwarf Sunday preview. Yeah, there we go, Dwarf Sunday preview. And just as I came onto here, I was like, wait a minute, there's another article. What is this? It's like buses. You wait ages for one and two come along at once. Something I didn't mention in this, and I couldn't find it. I was flicking through the Dwarf section and couldn't see where it was saying they're getting released. And then I came back in here and realised it says it right there. So next week's Saturday pre-order. So they're going up for pre-order next Saturday. So there we go. Right. Anyway, that's not why I came here. I came here for the other article. Where is it? This one here. Let's have a look. Old World Almanac: How the Dwarfen Mountain Holds Fare in Battle. I haven't actually looked at this yet at all. So there we go. So we'll experience it together. This week, the focus is back on Warhammer the Old World, and we cast our eyes to the rocky fastness of the Dwarfen Mountain Holds as their first wave of units hits pre-orders this Saturday. There we go. Accordingly, the Old World Almanac returns for a series of chats with Johnny and JTY, two of the key designers behind the whole project. Today they're talking about the rules, how do the dwarfs play, and what's different about their two armies of infamy, the Royal Clan and the Expeditionary Force. Good. It'd be good to find out what's different about them, because I was speculating about that in the last video. JTY, the Grand Army, was designed to be very tanky, which fits the stubborn nature of dwarves to a T. They stand in their deployment zone and blow the heck out of anything that comes near them, and they're immovable when charged. Dwarfs are a foil to heavy cavalry armies because they are capable of forming a shield wall which cavalry bounces off. There are a couple of different dynamics here. The army is more manoeuvrable than it's ever been due to many units being drilled and using marching columns which dwarf players have lacked in the past. They won't be able to use these qualities as well as an Empire army might, but there are still tricks to be found. Marching columns I don't even know if that was a thing in the past, was it? And drilled, dwarves always were, I was going to say more manoeuvrable than most armies, and that's not even remotely true. What I meant to say, the spirit behind what I was going to say is that dwarves never had to, could never be march blocked, so they could always move their march move within range. Now I think, is it a leadership test that you can do that? I've forgotten already. So yeah, there we go. I like the combination of stubborn and shield wall, which feels really thematically dwarfish, and it's very strong. It cripples the first charge and cavalry's ability to follow up with lances. Dwarfs won't break if they lose combat, and they'll only give ground, which causes any charge to lose all of its momentum. Yeah, so the stubborn rule, wow, it says it right here, means that when you make a break test first time, so it only affects the first time that you're required to make a break test. You can choose not to and fall back in good order instead. So it's not an ability you can save, but it's still really, really good. Units, no, yeah, blah blah blah. Don't care. So you can choose to fall back in good order instead of taking the test, right? First time you're required to make a break test, it may choose not to take the break test and will automatically fall back in good order instead. So there we go. So instead of, well, I mean, who knows what you'd have rolled on your break test, but you can guarantee that it's just a fall back in good order, and then a shield wall can give ground rather than fall back in good order. And shield wall you do get to choose. You don't have to use it on your first time shield wall. You can choose it at any point. So instead of going back, what's D6 for fall back in good order, you can go back 2 inches. There we go. So yeah, so who has, I can't remember who has stubborn and shield wall within the dwarfs, but there we go. Danny, quite often dwarf armies favour a strong core of units armed with handguns or crossbows. I tend to go with handguns, that's my preference, and a couple of anvil units. I'm really looking forward to seeing how the armies of infamy change how people approach building their armies. Are we going to see expeditionary forces with squadrons of gyrocopters and slayers rushing forwards? And are the royal clans going to let their hammerers, longbeards, and royal clan warriors step across the table and say, "Come on, let's have it"? Okay, so does that mean what used to be a Slayer army is now an Expeditionary Force and includes other things like gyrocopters. Okay, yeah, I see that. That actually makes the army more interesting. So, well, we'll find out, I guess. But that's what it seems like from that. JTY magic is a big factor in Warhammer the Old World. Dwarfs have magic defense, and they have Anvils of Doom. For even more counterplay, they have Rune Priests, who, whilst not being wizards, are well versed in the arts of dispelling enemy magic. They're counter-magic wizards. Combine them with innate magic resistance, and it's very difficult to afflict dwarfs with hexes and magic missiles. Vortices, aren't they? I don't know. Are more effective because they're cast around dwarves, but most spells are very hard to get off. And if you need to shut a wizard down further, take the Rune of No Magic for you, thanks. The Master Rune of Calm. There we go. Bearer of Master Rune of Calm can cast the following bound spell with a power level of 2. It's a bound spell, level 2. Fine. So that means you get +2 to your roll, if I recall. I could be wrong, so let me know in the comments, but I'm pretty sure that means you get +2 to your roll. If this bound spell is cast with a casting result of 8 or more, enemy wizards that are within 18 inches of this model when attempting to cast a spell must increase that spell's casting value by 2. If this bound spell is cast with a casting result of 11 or more, enemy wizards that are within 36 inches of this model when attempting to cast a spell must increase that spell's casting value by 2. This spell lasts until your next start of turn subphase. So you can just do that every turn, can you? Interesting. Alright, cool. Is that in the normal list, or is that new in the book? We'll find out. And again, let me know. Put it in the comments for anybody who's interested. Blah blah blah. The Master Rune of Calm. Okay, JTY. There's the Rune of Hesitation as well. That's in the normal rune, so I've seen that. Where a charging unit loses many of the benefits. That's quite annoying. Runic tattoos are something new in the Arcane Journal for Slayers and Doomseekers, who can also be taken as mercenaries in Empire armies. Doomseekers. Now, are they saying Slayers can also be taken as mercenaries, or just Doomseekers? It'd be weird. I feel like Slayers are more normal mercenaries than Doomseekers. Doomseekers are quite an oddball unit, so for them to be mercenaries is a bit weird, but whatever, we'll find out, I guess. Danny, lots of players enjoy fielding dragons and other big monsters, which dwarfs lack. But you know what's really good at killing dragons? Dwarf lords with runic weapons and cannon batteries. Everything you need to make a good dwarf army will be released over the next couple of months. JTY, indeed, as we saw with the release of the Orc and Goblin tribes, once an army becomes available and people begin playing more games with it, people learn what it can do. It takes a couple of months for everyone to adjust, and every game feels fresh. Danny, the meta is going to do this every time a new faction is released. Remember, we have 9 core factions, of which only a third are available at present. We're letting things unfold naturally, but once the last faction have been released, everyone will be playing games of Warhammer the Old World on a far more even field, complete with their Grand Army, their Armies of Infamy, and more. Don't know if that means anything, but there we go. JTY, the Expeditionary Force plays quite differently to a Dwarf Army made using the Grand Army list. The Engineers are much more offensive than a normal Dwarf Army, with some quicker moving units and lots of war machines, black powder and experimental gyrocopters tied together with new runes for ranged weapons. Interesting. I wonder if that Grudge Pony actually does anything. That's the, wait, I was going to say that's the pony cart. This is me bending forward, so it might sound a bit different. I was going to say that's the pony cart from the Battle for Skull Pass set, but yeah, I guess maybe it is. It's just because it looks like it's had some extra work done to it as a conversion. But yeah, there we are. Don't know. It does look that way. Now I vaguely recollect hearing that the Miners set came with a cart as well, so it could be from that, but that I have no knowledge of. But I definitely have a couple of those from Battle Skull Pass sets. JTY, wait, did I just read that one? Yeah, I did. Okay. Danny, it allows us to explore the idea of what an Engineer's Guild army might look like. This is not your classic throng of dwarves defending a hold or heading out to slay a monster. This is the guild investing in a venture. Miners have a major role to play, and there are rules for carts, especially the one you get in their box. There we go. Plus the old Bargman's cart. They are particularly useful for engineers. The miner's cart is full of blasting charges, so any unit nearby can start hurling explosives at the enemy. That's interesting. Bugman's cart does what you imagine it would do. It raises the spirits of dwarfs in the vicinity and gets them moving faster. What does that star say? Dwarfs tend to be big fans of a shapely pony and a well-turned wheel. There you go. Where were we? Here we are. It's nice to give models like these a purpose rather than using it as a unit dressing. That's true, it is nice to give them a purpose, and I have a few lying around, so that'll be quite good. Obviously, unit fillers is the other thing they're good for as well. JTY, the engineers also get scout gyrocopters, which have lighter weapons and no bombs. This is an option that can be assembled straight from the box, so no kit bashing is required. Okay, cool. It's a fast-moving skirmisher with a tapping weapon. I don't even know what a tapping weapon is. It's not a gunship, but it can zip around the flanks and annoy enemy war machines. I have got no idea what it means by a tapping weapon. But there we go. And what makes them different to the classic gyrocopters. Anyway, the other army of infamy is the Royal Clan. This is for the old grumblers and the longbeards, the traditionalists. The dwarfiest of dwarf armies. This is the king or queen's family and their household. I like that it says queen there. That'll be, oh, was it Helga coming back? I can't remember. Is that her name? I feel like it was. It's probably not. This is the king or queen's family and their household. They're very wealthy and very set in their ways, so they don't use black powder or newfangled contraptions. Ah, yes, look, no cannons. Just stone throwers and bolt throwers. Ooh, that's going to make it a hard sell. They're very wealthy, set in their ways, so they don't use black powder or newfangled contraptions, but they do have a lot of money to spend on runes. And there's some very tasty options as a result. Okay, interesting. There are Royal Clan warriors, which you build from the Hammerer's kit using the hand weapons and shields found on the frame. As members of the Royal Clan, they're just that little bit better than ordinary dwarf warriors. One of the big things we're trying to do with every army is find different options that exist on the sprue to give players more of an opportunity to kit bash. I feel like, didn't they say it's not kit bashing? Anyway. Danny, we want something that existing collectors of armies can get excited about. These armies of infamy allow veteran players to get enthused about a different facet of their existing force, and to add new units to their existing collection. The Royal Clan is the kind of army that long-standing dwarf players might see and think, that's my kind of army, whereas the Expeditionary Force is something other players might consider exciting. They're the younger dwarfs who are more interested in being a bit more experimental. It's nice to have the contrast and appeal to very different players. Back in, again for 6th edition, they released rules for War of the Beard, which that sounds very similar to, like they've taken inspiration from that, because they, one of the things was you got, wow, it is actually, it sounds a lot like it. So you got extra points to spend on runes, and you had extra master runes. You could have like more runes in your army basically than previously allowed, and you had non-black powder weapons in the War of the Beard army as well. So it sounds like it's taken some inspiration from that. That was a white dwarf. White dwarf really saw a couple of white dwarves, one for the dwarves and one for the elves. But yeah, there we go. Where have we gone to? Here. We haven't done the Slayer army, JTY says, which many people might have expected. In the same way we didn't do Night Goblins, it's almost too obvious. So maybe we're saving them for the future. Okay. You can build a Slayer heavy army if you take Ungrim Ironfist as the general of a royal clan. He is the king of the Slayer hold after all. Yeah, but if you can you take the axe thrower, the goblin viewer? Yeah, it is interesting to me that they've started doing Slayers without orange hair. That intrigues me. There we go. There are loads of awesome things, Danny says, that we'd have loved to have done straight out the gate, but some of those armies are so cool, thematic and popular that they weren't taking the time to be done right. Now that's an interesting little nugget right there, particularly along with the Night Goblin one. So maybe we're saving them for a future. Yes, there we go. Interesting. JTY, there are only a finite number of pages in an arcane journal, and I've got a big list of themes we've not explored yet. Danny, there's a lot in the cupboard still. JTY, in fact, most of the ideas the fans have had are almost certainly ideas we've also discussed. After all, we're Old World fans as well, and we get to talk about this stuff a lot. Thanks guys, the Old World Almanac will return on Thursday with a discussion of the lore and what the dwarfs are up to during this period. So there we go. So that was interesting. Some interesting insights into the dwarves there. Good to know what the two different army types are, the new armies. So Expeditionary Force and the Royal Clan. So I was wrong. It's not. It doesn't seem like the Expeditionary Force is the Slayer army, but a Royal Clan led by Ungrim. There we go. That makes sense, I guess. Very cool, and some nice little tidbits about more expansions on existing armies at some point in the future. So that's very good. Cool. Alright, so that was, I found that interesting. Hopefully you did as well. And we'll see what comes up later on in this week. Who knows, maybe we'll get one every day this week. But yeah. Alright, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and catch you in the next video.